And we'll get started with the recording, and I'll be official now. So welcome to our September Virtual Science Saturday. I've got my kit here with me. I've got my Universal Studios cup that I'm drinking my water out of. Get a drink really quick, and I've got my UT hat on because we're 2-0 right now, trying to make it 3-0 today. So I gotta keep cheering on my team. All right, so we are going to build a glow string shooter, and I'm actually going to share one of my screens with you, and gotta remember how to do it because it's been a while, and I can't find it. Where is it? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to share my Mimeo with you. And so hopefully now you are seeing the picture of the glow string shooter. Manazi, since I can see you, will you give me a thumbs up? Can you see it? Can you see it? Good, perfect. Okay, so I am going to actually turn my screen off, my video off, because you all will be looking at the side of my head, and that I've decided that makes no sense for you to do that. So I'm going to turn mine off, and then we'll get started on this. So this is a glow string shooter, and it is hard for me to know for sure whether it will glow because I can't get it dark enough in here for that to see, but we'll try today. Usually I get too much light from outside for me to see whether or not it's actually glow. But you all may be able to get a darker room.
Hey,
Open it up today. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff in here. So we've got 2 different sets of instructions there, and we're going to put those aside. And then we've got a package that is a string guide kit, and we're probably going to need that. So I'm going to put that out too. So when you look at what else is in the kit, there are what look like all kinds of foam pieces and some like telephone cord and some rubber bands. And then we've got, ooh, that one's open. We've got 2 different battery packs. One's going to take a 9-volt battery, one's going to take AA batteries, and we've got 2 motors. So it seems like a lot of what I choose for us to build and work on uses motors. So we always get a good electricity lesson when we're doing that. And we've got a base and 2 arms that we're going to put together. So we're going to need those. And then this is actually an LED strip. And so that's going to help us with the glow. We got a little tiny funnel. And then we've got a couple of different sets of string. And so we're going to use one of those and then save the other one for you to experiment with later if you want to. And then we've got 3 of these little packages that are actually, when you open them up, they kind of work like I don't know, a reflector screen or a screen that you put in your car as a sunshade. And so twist that back up and put that back in. So you've got 3 of those. And I didn't get far enough in the instructions last week when I was watching this to or building this to see what we actually use those for. But we'll check those out. But I'm gonna put those aside for a little bit. I'm gonna leave those right away. I am gonna go ahead and take everything out of my packages just because it's easier for me. Oh, there's a 3rd piece of string hidden in there. Okay, so there's my LED strip, my motor over there. I'm going to open this up, take all those wooden pieces out. I'm not going to lie to you, this is one of the hardest of these that I have done. And I don't know if it's just that it was too complicated for me, or I kept getting distracted by all the people that were coming in and out of my office. When I start building these, the first time that I build them for you all, I always try to time myself to see how long it takes me to build. And I'll just let you know that with all of the interruptions that I had that day, it took me about 2.5 hours to build this. I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case when we get started today. So we're actually going to do this a little bit out of order, and we're going to put our battery cases together just so that we've got those done, and then we can get that out of the way. So start with the battery case that is the AA batteries. You're just going to slide that lid off. You're probably going to need some scissors or something to cut this plastic open in. And then pay attention as you put these in, because you always want to have the positive ends connected in the correct order, or we won't get a flow of electricity when the time comes. You'll notice that all of these battery cases have an on-off switch. But if you're going to build this and you'll play with it for a little while, and then after you have played with it a little while, you think you're just going to leave it alone for a little bit, go ahead and take the batteries out, just because you don't want them corroding in the battery case. That's a pain in the rear end to try to fix. So these go in opposite directions. You always want the flat end, that's your negative end. Those always go against the screen. And so those will be flipped, okay? And so put your battery cover back on. And then we flip this over, maybe when we flip this over, there's your on-off switch. Of course, it's not going to do anything as you flip it now because we don't have a complete circuit. But we'll use that to kind of manipulate the string shooter. So then we've got our 9-volt battery, and I'll just be real honest with you. 9-volt batteries and I don't get along really well. I don't really have enough strength in my fingers to connect them. So that was another problem that I had when I built the first one of these, is that I couldn't get the 9-volt battery connected. So I had to take the battery case apart. And that was an exercise in frustration. That took me about 15 or 20 minutes to get it put back together again. So I hope that goes a little bit better today. So when you look at your 9-volt battery, your 2 leads on your 9-volt battery are different. And you're going to take the hexagon and it's going to go into the circle in your battery case, and then your circle on your battery is going to go into the hexagon in the battery case. And here's where my problem is. See, I don't have enough strength in my fingers to get those connected. And so I really, really struggle with that. And so hopefully you'll have a little bit more luck than I will. Because when I had to take this apart, then it fell apart. And that was not a good thing. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to try to put it in so it's connected just a little bit. And it goes. So I got the hexagon, left hand side of mine connected. Okay, cool. That was the easiest thing I've done. Okay, that was good news for me. So you just have to maneuver that around a little bit to get that thing to work. It's a pain. I just don't like 9-volt batteries at all. Okay, and so then this one's got an on-off switch on the back side of it too. Again, no closed circuit yet, so nothing's going to happen. So we'll put those aside for a minute. We've got that out of the way. And I can get rid of those instructions because they are not necessary anymore. Okay, so what we're going to do is make what's called a standing string. And so when you look in your book, you've got some examples of a standing string. And so if you've ever used a yo-yo, you know, people can do all kinds of fancy yo-yo tricks. One of them is a famous one is called Around the World, where you extend the yo-yo out, and then you can make that yo-yo go in a circle. And it works kind of the same way as a lasso works. And then you'll see them in other types of situations. But what we're going to do is use those motors and then a couple of, they're not really wheels, I guess, maybe they are. But we're going to use those two circles, those two, I'm going to call them wheels. I don't know, they call them wheels too. They're going to spin in opposite directions. One's going to go clockwise, the other one's going to go counterclockwise. And when they do, when the string rolls up between the two of them, then it's going to kind of project that string out. And so using that electricity to drive those wheels on the motors and get them to spin, we're going to pull that string through and create our spinning string. Okay. All right. So first thing we're going to do is the easiest part, and we're going to build the base. And so you want to turn your base so that it's facing you and you can see the kiwi label, logo, okay? And we're going to take our pieces, it's nice, our pieces are labeled for us, the ones that we need to be labeled. So we've got an A and a D, and we've got two B's, and then we've got a big B that's kind of one of our arms, and then we've got a C, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is take our piece A, and we're going to insert it in the slot there's two slots in the middle that are the same size, and we're going to insert A in the back slot, okay? And then you've got some little O-rings, they're clear, and we're going to do this like we've done a lot of our other projects. We're going to fasten that around the bottom of our arm A just to keep it in place so that it doesn't fly apart, okay? Make sure I got that down and not tight, okay? And then we're going to do the same thing with our arm D, and it's going to go in the slot in front of arm A. So when you look at this, you'll see your kiwi, and then arm D allows you to see part of arm A, okay? And then we're going to take another O-ring. We're going to fasten that into there. All right, so I've got those two, and those actually are going to be kind of our uprights that hold our arms in place, okay? All right, now we're going to, we've already done step 4, we've put our batteries together. We're going to go to step 5, and we're going to attach our battery packs to our base, okay? So those white pieces of paper will peel off of the sticky tape on the base, and you're going to turn your battery packs so that your on-off switches are going to be accessible on the top. So we're going to take this and turn it over to put it on our base. And before I actually stick that down all the way, I'm going to make sure that that's where I can get to it. I'm going to move mine just a little bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so there's one of them. I'm going to do the same thing with the other battery pack. We want to have those leads available to us later on. And you also want to be able to turn it on and off without turning it upside down. Okay, so I've got that one on there too. So now I've got my base with my 2 arms upright, and I've got my leads underneath, and we're going to pull those through and use those here in a little bit. Now, usually when we build these kits, all of our wiring, everything is hidden. You don't see those things, but this one is not that way. Everything is going to be out and available for you to see, to check your leads, to do all kinds of things that you need to do with that. So it's not hidden quite as much as some of our other projects have been, but I guess that's just the nature of this one. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take those leads and we're going to poke them up through our holes. And there's not going to be a lot of space there. Okay, they're not going to come out very far. Be careful that you don't pull on them too hard. That was another problem I had. I pulled on one of the leads too hard, and I broke it. And so you should see me trying to get this thing where I got the leads connected because I didn't have any electrical tape. Keep the leads connected and be able to turn it on. So hopefully that's going to go better for me today because I was pretty frustrated the last time. Okay, we're going to put our feet on now. And so I'm going to balance that as well as I can. You just want to put your feet so that it's pretty well balanced. I'm going to put one right here. Put another one over here right next to my 9-volt battery case. And then I'm going to put one down here close to my AAA or AA battery case. And I'm kind of trying to get that in that triangle so that we've got pretty steady days. And so then when I turn that up back right side up, I've got my leads, I've got my two on and off switches where I can get to them. And my base is pretty steady. It's not perfect, but it's pretty. Okay. All right. The next thing that we're going to do is attach these two arms. So you've got an arm that is labeled B, and you've got an arm that is labeled C. And I have just gotten a text message from somebody that I don't even know. So, hi, Shane, Austin, Rogers or Rhodes. I couldn't remember what that was. I haven't met you yet. It's good to meet you. Welcome. You'll watch me on the video. I keep checking the participant list just to make sure I haven't missed anybody. And so hopefully people will not be left out. We'll see. All right. So we're going to start with we're going to start with the B, and we're going to put it in the back. And so your instructions tell you to line these up in alphabetical order, okay? So your back arm is A, and we're going to take B, and we're going to put B in, and we're going to put it with the letter down, and then we're going to take C, and we're going to put C in front of B. And so now we have these arms that go, A is the support, then B, there's C, and then supports B, okay? So when you do this, it'll look like this. All right, and we're gonna put a bolt through there, okay? So I'm gonna go bolt A, or bolt through D, to B and A, until I get it there to the back. And I'm gonna tighten it with the nuts. And now I've got my screw in my nuts. And just finger tighten that for right now. I've got my arms fixed. So there's the base. We're finished with that now. Now what we've got to do is mount our motors. And so the first thing that we're going to do is take one of our little small arms, and we're going to put a piece of our foam on there. Here's my foam. When you look at your foam, it is a donut. So we just want the donut, not the donut hole. Although I did make use of the donut holes a little earlier when I did, well, when I built it the last time. So I'm going to take the tape off of that. And I'm going to attach that around the big hole. Okay, we're leaving that one empty. And we're going to do the same thing with the other one. Donut, not the donut hole. It's sticking in my finger. And I'm going to take the paper off of those just yet, John. Actually, totally and completely ready to do this. Okay, so I've got those set up. And now what I'm going to do is put a motor through each of the arms. Okay. So the first one I'm going to do, you'll notice both of your motors are labeled differently. And when you look at them, you'll also note if you look at the letters that your red and your black leads are reversed. Okay, that's because we're going to use one of these to go clockwise and one to go counterclockwise. And so we're going to reverse the current. One of them is going to have the current going in one direction, and one's going to have the current flowing in the other direction. Okay, so we're going to take A and we're going to mount it through. Pull my paper off. We're going to mount the arm on the motor is going to go through, and we're going to attach that. And when you attach this, leave yourself a little bit of sticky space at the top. And the reason for that will be clear in a little bit, but leave yourself a little bit of space on there. And then we're going to do the same thing with B. Okay. Peel my paper off. And I'm going to mount that. So I'm going to mount it so I've got a little bit of sticky space left at the top. Okay. So I've got A and I've got B. And then mounted. And then we're going to attach wheels to them. And you just take that wheel and pop it on there. So the wheel spin. Okay. So leaving this little sticky part there is one of the things that I should have done on the first loop, because this, your string guide kit, is actually supposed to sit on top of your motors. And I had my motors right at the edge and there's nothing for them to stick to. So that's why I asked you to move that. And so, you know, maybe you won't need those, but I know from experience with mine, I do. Okay, so that one will spin, so we're good with those. Okay, now we've got our two motors built. That's the first few steps of part B. And now what we're going to do is fasten, we're going to fasten our motors to our base, okay? So you still want your kiwi facing towards you. And you've got a little rubber, it's a little rubber mat, a little pad, and we're going to attach that here. It's not sticky. We're just going to line it up there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to attach the two motors on their arms to this upright. Okay, you have to put them in the right order. So we'll start with, let me make sure I've got my bolts and my nuts ready to go. Okay, we're going to start with your motor A. Okay, and motor A goes on the left side. So as you're looking at it, your motor A goes on the left side, and the wheel should be pointing at you. So you're going to take your bolt, push it through there, And then we're gonna put the nut on there, and don't screw it in super tight because we're gonna wanna adjust these arms. Once we get the arms adjusted where we want them, then we can tighten them up. Okay. So got that one going. There's one. Then we're gonna do the same thing with motor B. And so it's gonna fit right in there as well. Okay. So when you look at this, this is one of the problems that I had when I built this. I expected my wheels to line up edge to edge. Oops, I put that in the wrong way. And it didn't. So when I get this through here, you look at it. Apparently I don't seem to be able to do that. I'll find out. Oops. All right, got that one through. Finger tightening. Okay, so when you pull these two arms up together, I don't know how well you can see that online, but I expected those two edges to line up together, and they don't. And so that was a source of frustration for me as well. But I have since decided that if I don't have them offset from one another, the gap between them is too wide for the string to move up through there tightly. So I'm 90% sure, hear me say 90, I'm 90% sure that having them like that is the way to do that. Okay. So you have a little wrench, and that's used to tighten the bolts just a little bit more. What they want is for you to put these together so that they're almost touching, but not quite. And that is kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of a question about whether or not how much that's supposed to do that. Okay. So mine are not quite touching, but they're really, really close. And so I'm going to leave mine like that, and I'm going to tighten up. I'm going to tighten up my bolts. So let me put that on there. And use, talked about torque before. The longer the arm, the more torque you have. And of course, I don't have a very long arm on my wrench, so I'm going to work at that a little bit more. Be nice if they give me a longer wrench. And I think because these are plastic, they're really not going to tighten up as much as we would like them to. But you just want to get them so that they're a little bit harder to move. So probably 2 turns. 2 turns. I really had to work to get that done. When I do that, there's my wheels. They're pretty close to touching. And so what we're going to be doing is spinning that string through there. And so we'll see whether or not that's close enough to do that. Okay, but we're still waiting on that a little bit. All right, so now we've got those things attached. And we've just about hopefully got them where they need to be. We'll have to play with that a little bit more. But now what we're going to do is connect our batteries. Okay, so we want to make our motor spin. So we're going to turn the Kiwi away from us. Okay, we turn that so that it is behind the arms, and we're going to work with this end. Okay, so we've got 2 sets of Y cables, and we're going to take the Y cable that is red, and we're going to attach it to our red lead. And I can already see a problem. So we're going to take, I'm going to do it this way. Let's see, we're going to take the end of the bottom end of the Y, and we're going to attach it to the red lead. Okay, so right now we're going red to red. You want to be careful as you put those in, because that's where I broke it the last time. Okay, got red to red. And then we're going to take our black, and we're going to go black to black. Okay, so the bottom end of the Y, and we're going, attaching that to the black lead that's poking up through the hole. You want to be careful that you don't break that wire. And so now I've got those attached. Okay, so we've gone red to red and black to black. Don't pull on them real hard. They'll come apart. I can already tell that that lead on that red is loose. And I don't have any black electrical tape, so that's not going to work for me. But I am going to just take a piece of tape, because this is where I got into trouble the last time. I'm just going to take a piece of tape, and I'm going to wrap that around there just so that I'm not pulling on those things. Okay. All right. I'm going to drink water. All right. So then we're going to connect these to motor B. Okay. Now this time, instead of doing red to red and black to black, we're going to go red to black and black to red. Okay. Red to black and black to red. And what we're doing now is setting up, so red to black and black to red. And so what we're doing is setting up motor B to run in the opposite direction of motor A. Okay? All right. And we've got 2 leads left over. Those right there. And we're going to attach these to motor A. So this time, because we want it to go reverse of the B, we're going to go red to red, and we're going to go black to black. And so what we've done is we've got one motor that's going to run, I think this one runs clockwise. Actually, no, I think this one runs counterclockwise. And then this one will run the opposite direction, so it will run clockwise. And so if we turn this on, turn it back around, because we want to look to be sure. You want motor B to run like this. That's clockwise. You want motor A to run like this. That's counterclockwise. And think about it. If they're both running the same direction like this, see my fingers where you see them. They're both running like this. There's no way to pull a string. Whereas if they're going, I think that was for me. This one's going down. If they're going like this, then as they spin past each other, anything that you push through there is going to be spit out the other end. So that's the way we're going to make our string travel through that space. Okay. So I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to double check to make sure that those are going the right way. If I can get to the on switch. There we go. Okay. So when you look at this, it is spinning so fast that it's really hard for you to tell whether or not they are spinning in the right direction. But you definitely know they're spinning. You put your hand on it and feel it. Okay. I'm going to let that slow down, and we're going to watch. So this one was going this way. This one was going this way. You may be able to see it. Oh, see, this is what happened with me the last time. My battery packs don't want to stay stuck to the base. So you may be able to see from here that they're spinning in opposite directions. Okay, it's kind of hard to tell because they're going pretty fast. You'll know for sure when we get ready to put this thing together and send your string flying. So, and the good thing about this one is all of our wiring is at the top of the system. And so we can take things apart and put them back together pretty easily. Okay, so now what we're going to do is assemble the arms with some brackets that we're going to use to give a guide. It's really a guide for our string to travel through. Okay, so this is part C in your instructions. And we're going to take these little clips, like B, and we're going to fit those into arm B. All right, so remember we do this in alphabetical order. So B is the one that's attached to your arm with the motors on it. Okay, so I'm just going to take those and I'm going to insert those in. And then we're going to use our little O-rings to the back. Okay, so we're going to do that with the other one as well. So it's right up underneath the arms. And we're going to attach that. Okay, so now we've got those two little brackets attached. Make sure that I've got that O-ring down on them pretty tightly so that they're not wobbly. Okay, so we've got those two little arm brackets right there. Then we're going to do the same thing with the C arm brackets on arm C. All right, so here we go. I'm going to put that one in. Attach it with the O-ring. Make sure that that's down in there good and tight so that's not wobbly. I'm going to do that with one more. And then you've probably got one, maybe two O-rings left over. I had two the last time, and I have had a thought about those and how I can use those to help steady this thing when we get ready to attach our string to it. And we'll see how that works. Okay, so we've got these two brackets now. They're pretty sturdy. Make sure you get them in there down as tight as you can. And we are ready to start dealing with the string. But before we do that, I want to take, your string guide and I want to go ahead and assemble that because I know pretty clearly that that's going to be a help to us. Okay, so when you pull your string guide kit out, all you've got is a mount and a pin. Okay, we're going to use the pin right away because we've got to get our string ready to go. But I want you to take your mount, and your mount is going to go. Your mount is going to go down between your two motors, and then it's going to attach to that sticky that I told you that you needed earlier. Okay. So let's see. Now that has pulled my arms apart a little bit. So I'm going to do this. Loosen that out just a little bit. So I can put it on there. Okay. Let's see what we get. Okay. But that's why I wanted you to have that, have that little bit of sticky there to do that. Okay, I'm gonna take that off for right now, because it can come on and off. It can if you, yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's where that will go if we need it. And then the pin, and we can't use the pin until we've done the string. Okay, all right, now here's the part that is going to feel like it's a little frustrating. So you've got, let's set this aside for just a little bit. You've got 3 packages of string. Okay? And we're actually going to do the string that is the shortest of them, and that's going to be the one that's the thinnest amount of string on your little cardboard pieces. Okay, I'm going to take those other 2 and put them in the box, because those are for you to experiment and play with when you want to. We're not going to have time to do that this morning. If I manage to get this built with you all in a decent amount of time, I'll be impressed. It's already 11:15. We've been building for 45 minutes. So this string has actually been coated with a luminescent dye. And so when it is exposed to ultraviolet light, it will glow. It's a form of chemiluminescence, I guess, if you want to call it that. So we're just unwinding that. And here's one of the other things that I noticed is this string, because it's on this piece of cardboard like this, it's got lots of kinks in it. And so it's going to take a little bit to smooth all of those kinks out of it. After we run it a few times in that standing circle, it will hopefully smooth out some. But it is kind of got a lot of folds and bends in it. Okay, so I've straightened it out a little bit. You just want to take that string and just kind of spread it out across your horizontal surface, because we're actually only going to work with just a little bit of it. Okay, so we're going to use this telephone wire or spiral. It looks like what goes in your spiral notebook. I guess it's more the consistency of that than it is the telephone wire. And we're actually going to thread the string through the spiral. Okay. So what you want to do is just, I'm going to put that part under my hand so I can kind of control it. You just want to put that string in your hook. Okay. And then we're going to just start twisting the spiral. And you want to make sure that every time you twist it, that your string is getting caught inside the spiral. So I don't know, be real careful with that. I don't know what it is, but if you can see, my string is inside the spiral. So as I continue to twist, I'm pulling more and more of the string. And the easiest way to tell that you're doing this is that your string is moving farther and farther down the spiral. Okay. And you also have to make sure that you're not losing the spiral at the top end, which I am. Okay, so I'm going to go get back down here so I can keep it control on that spiral. And you're just going to keep spinning it until you get it through. And this is where doing this on video for you, or doing it on Zoom, is kind of hard because I don't have any idea whether you're being successful with this or not. So I see somebody has given me a chat. All right, I'm almost to the end of mine. All right, there we go. Now mine is all the way through. So if I let go of this, my spiral stays connected to my string, and that's what you want, okay? And then we have to keep it that way. That was another part of my frustration when I did this the first time is I couldn't keep that thing attached. And so that drove me really, really crazy, okay? All right, so while you're finishing that up, I want to show you the strings for that a little bit more. I want to show you what the next step is and talk you through it. And then you'll make the attempts to get it where it's supposed to be. Okay, so you've got a funnel, and I didn't mention it to you earlier, but your funnel is split all the way down to the end of the stem. Okay, and we're doing that because we're going to attach our funnel and our string and our coil all together. Okay, so what you want to do, and I'm going to go over here somewhere away from where my coil is so I don't mess it up. What I'm going to do is just take that string and slide it through that slit all the way down through the stem until I've got my funnel with the string all the way through it. Okay, so set it like that so you can see that it's all the way through there. Okay, I'm trying to keep my string from getting twisted up. All right, so when you get that done, this has to go along that string, and we're going to push it so that it's down into your spiral. Okay, and here's where I think a good thing to do would be, and I don't know that just the plain tape will work, but I'm going to get a piece of my blue painter's tape. And I'm going to put a piece of blue painter's tape on here, and I'm going to tell you why. And then we're going to see whether or not this works. Because when those motors start spinning and that string starts running through that spiral and that funnel, what I noticed last week when I built this was that funnel would work its way out, and then my funnel would be out here, and things were not well attached. And so then my string would get caught up and then would fall apart and things would not work well. So I think that if I'm real careful with it, I'm just going to put that piece of tape on there, and we're going to see whether that kind of helps keep that. Oh, that piece is not on there. I'm going to see whether that will kind of keep those two things together. It may be a complete failure, but I'm going to try it. Give myself a little tab so I can pull it apart. And so if you've got some masking tape or some maybe electrical tape, something like that at your house, you may want to try that. Okay, and I'm going to leave that so I can get a little bit of the funnel well attached to the tape before I start running that array. The thing about it is you don't want to do anything too permanent to that, because if you do, you can't change out your strings. And so I kind of want to be able to do that. So that painter's tape maybe is a good idea for that, because I can, maybe I can keep it more stable. So we're experimenting today while we do this. All right, here is, to me, the worst part of putting this thing together, and that's your LED strip, okay? And so your LEDs are on this side of the tape. We actually want to coil this LED tape or strip around the coil, okay? And you want to do that in such a way that the LED stays in. Let me show you what we're going to do before we make that happen. So what's going to happen is I'm going to take this coil and I'm going to attach it so that my funnel goes into that Y piece, and then it's going to come up and attach through the other two brackets, okay? And it's easy to just pop those in and out of those brackets. But what has to happen is that coil has to wind up your spiral until it gets up to here, and still be able to attach to our leads down here. And you want to get that coil to fit as tightly as you can. Now here's what I think. It's really hard to make that happen. And so I did a lot of fussing at myself with this coil last week, trying to get it around, get the LED tape to stay around it. And it seemed like no matter how tightly I tried to twist it, while still making sure that I'm not losing my string and my funnel, see, there's no way to attach this to the coil. And so it's very frustrating to keep it attached. And so I struggled with that a whole lot, okay? So we're still looking to make sure that our string is attached to the coil. And you'll notice that I started my twisting down here by the funnel end. So I'm going to attach that to those leads right there. And so I don't want those up here because they get in the way of my wheels spinning, and I don't want that to happen. So this is another time where there's probably got to be a better way to get this around this coil, but I'm not sure what it is. And I don't know whether it's to my benefit, but I'm going to try. I don't know whether it's to my benefit to put a piece of tape on that coil. I'm going to see what happens when I do that. Just to see if it helps me a little bit with stability, okay? I don't really want it to go through the coil. You know, I don't really want it to, yeah, see, I was afraid that was going to happen. So this is why this is so frustrating, because these pieces are so loose and they just don't really seem to want to stick together. But I'm going to leave that like that and see what happens when I twist this thing. Okay, so I've got that wrapped around there, and I'm gonna insert this in and see what happens. Okay, so I've got my coil in there. I'm going to pull it up here. I've got my coil there. Now you can't see very well, but my string has pulled out of my coil, and I don't want it to do that. So it's really easy to just loop that back over again. Okay, but I've at least got that. It's not pretty at all, which is, you know, really strange for this kit, because usually our kits, you know, the things that we do, they look so good after we put them together. This one's not that way. And so I've got some suggestions to make to the Kiwi company about trying to figure out a way to make that work a little bit better. So maybe other people have made those suggestions too, but I don't know. All right, so I've got that stuff finished. And here what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach my leads. All right, so with this one, we're going to do red to red and black to black. Red to red and black to black. So you can see, if you look really closely, I'm gonna turn this around a little bit so you can see. There's my red lead. It's the one that is at the bottom of the string. And I've got it attached to the red here. Okay. And then the black is at the top of the string, and I've got it attached to the black lead there as well. Okay. Again, be real careful with those because that's another place that I had trouble keeping my leads attached and not losing them. So I'm just going to turn this on just to see if my LEDs turn on. And they do. You can just barely see them because I put the tape in the way. But I'm going to tell you, I am much more relaxed about this than I was the last time. So we're almost finished with our build at this point, which is way faster than I did it the last time. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is here at the top, we're going to take our string and we're going to feed our string up between the two wheels. And we're going to drape it over the wheel that's attached to motor A. I'll turn my LED lights off so you can see that a little bit better. Okay. Try not to do that really fast so that it didn't make you crazy trying to refocus. But I've taken my string and I've put it up from the coil in between the two wheels and let it drape over the top wheel or the left wheel, the one that's attached to A. Okay. So, it tells you that this should be a tight fit. And so I just squeezed my motors together a little bit more to kind of see if we can make that happen. Now I'm going to turn this just a little bit so you can see the string out and stretches out of the way. So I've got my string spread out way across the desk. Okay. So there's my fingers. And so I'm spreading this out way across the desk. All right. So we should be ready for this thing to run. What I'm going to do is clear all of this stuff out of the way so that I can move the camera over a little bit. Try to get all of my pieces that you don't need to see out of the way. And we'll keep going. Put these rubber bands somewhere, and I don't remember when I put them. Hang on a second, let me see, because I think I've missed. Oh, now I know what I've missed. I haven't put my rubber bands on my wheels to get a sticky surface for my for my string to stick to. So I kept thinking something was missing. So we're going to go back and fix that. I'm going to loosen my motor B. Just kept thinking, why is this not looking like it's supposed to look? And now I know why. Okay, I'm going to pull those apart a little bit. All right, so we're going to take two of our rubber bands, attach our rubber bands to our wheels. Actually, it will just pop off there. Glad I looked over and saw those rubber bands. What is going on here? This doesn't look right. We're putting our rubber bands around our wheels. Okay. So just got that on there. So that's now my stickier place. You know, it's got more friction to make those wheels work a little bit better. I'm actually kind of impressed because I thought this would take a lot longer for us to put this together today. Even with my mistake, we've still only been working an hour. And I really figured with the experience I had last week that it would be, well, if I could get the rubber band attached to the wheel, we would be in really good shape. Y'all, come on. Try that with another rubber band. Haha, there we go. All right, now I've got that one. Boy, that makes me feel better. I'm gonna put this camera. See what I'm doing. Feel like it's been in my way. Okay, there we go. You focus on me. Right. Okay. All right. So now what I want to do is push a few of that together and tighten up the. All right. That is maybe going to make me feel a little better. Now, let me get all this other stuff out of the way. So we can move our camera. It's heavy. I'm going to slide the camera down just a little bit. Slide my machine down a little bit. And let us get rid of them. I'm going to pull that back up for you guys. And that's loose. And it's a pretty tight fit. Okay. And so you see when I pull on that string, and make sure that it's pretty tightly. When you see, when you pull these now, if you pull on that string really gently, you should see that your string or your wheels are turning in two opposite directions. Now, I still think I'm going to have the problem that I had with the last one with the string and not pulling it off of my wheels. Okay, so we're ready to turn this thing on and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to turn on our LED strip first. We'll see if that makes any difference for us. And then I'm going to stretch this out. We want to see if we can create that standing string. You may be ahead of me. You've already turned it on. But we're going to, I've got my LED light on, and now I'm going to turn on my motor. And there we go. So this is where you're going to have to just fiddle with it. The good thing is those wheels will pop on and off. So you can see mine got tangled. My motors are running really fast. I'm still I'm going to put my string guide on mine. Okay, I think I'm going to feel better with that on there. So I'm going to put that back on, and I got to remind myself how to do this. Okay, so I'm going to take my string before it threads up over the wheel and put it in this pin. Okay, so it's like a giant, really hard to maneuver bobby pin. So I pulled those two edges apart, and I'm just going to pull it down in there until it gets down in the loop. Okay. So what I've done is I pull that down through the loop so you can see that it's attached. Okay. So then I'm going to take my loop and put my loop. There's a little tiny hole back there at the bottom, and I'm going to put my pin through the loop. My pin just slides through there. You want to slide it. You want to slide it so it's going to sit under those wheels. Okay, and you want to get this lined up between your wheels so that it's not in the way and it's not catching, and your string is going the right way. So I'm going to push this back out. So see how my string is headed down at this point. And that's not the way. I can't loop it up over the top of that very well. I'm just going to rotate my pin a little bit. Okay. So my pin is now, the loop is facing me on the pin rather than facing up. If I do that, then when I push that pin back in, I can get my string up there close to my wheel. All right. So there I've got my wheel attached and a string wrapped a little bit better than that wheel. Make sure that it's still in the corner. All right, now I'm going to put my other wheel back on. Let's see what we got. We'll want to make sure that that string is between the two wheels. All right, so now I've got this. It actually is touching both of the wheels. My pin is maybe turned a little bit, so it's going to interfere. So I'm going to try to rotate that a little bit. Okay, I think that's going to work for me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to arch this up a little bit. So it didn't like it when I did it straight down. So I'm going to give it more of an angle to work through. Okay. And you can change the angle of this as you want to. I'm going to pop it up just a little bit. We're going to see what happens again. You turn the motor on. All right. And I've created, woo, except my wheel popped off, but I had created a standing string there. Okay. So put my wheel back on. Now everything's all spread out this way. But here's the thing that I like with my little piece of tape. Oh, you're looking at me now instead of the string shooter. That little piece of tape right there that I put on is working really well. It's really keeping that funnel where it's supposed to be. And that's way better than it was the last time that I did this. Okay, so we're just going to go on here. One more time, let's see if I can get that wheel popped on there. And pull that string so that it's between there. Okay. And I'm going to try one more time. This is when I wish it had an adjustable speed motor, which we could, I guess, create if we wanted to. I think I'm through there again. Let me turn this on again. Lower that. Okay, it's standing up again. And it's running pretty smoothly. So I'm gonna do this. So the nice thing about standing strings is you can change their shape. And so I can touch that and I made it a little crazy and it popped off again, but that's just part of this, I think. Like I say, I wish I could do variable speed motor on here. We could do that. I just don't have the things I need to do that at the moment. Pull my pen out a little bit to see if that will help us with keeping this going a little bit. But I will tell you that what I've got right now is working way better than what was happening the last time. Okay, so I've done this vertically, but the good thing about these arms is that all the arms will rotate, pivot. And so I'm actually going to turn this down a little bit. You're still looking at me. Sorry, guys. You can tell it's been a while since I've done a Zoom session with you. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I've actually rotated it this way. Okay, so when you look at it, it looks like this. And we'll see what that does to our string. Okay. Ah, there we go. Now I'm going to go this way for you. Okay. I pull my finger up underneath that and change the shape of my string. And so it's looping down on my finger on the other side. And I'm letting go of it again and move it from here. Okay, and so you can change the shape of a standing string. Okay, this one's working way better than my last one did. This is awesome. All right, so I can turn it. It just crawled right across my cup. That was pretty funny. Move some stuff out of the way on the desk. And then we're going to adjust the camera. Because I actually have this thing now. Slow. I've actually got that standing string climbing down the side of the desk. Okay. So pull that again pretty slowly so that I can get it to where you can see it. This is the problem with the document camera. It's not really done. Okay, so there's the top of the string. Come on now. There we go. There's the top of the string. And so it's going here, looping down. It's landing against the side of the desk, and then coming back up through the funnel and the coil. Okay, so now I've lifted it back up again. And I can change the direction of it. And I'm so glad this one is working better than the last one did. That makes me really happy. Okay, here's my finger. Here's my finger. Oops. Here's my finger up here. You can see I'm making it dance. And that's all with me touching it with my finger. Oh, and I touched it too hard. Okay, so let me turn my motor off again. Those are some of the things that will work with that. Okay, so this actually did much better today than it did with me the last time. Let me be real careful and turn this over real slow again. And you're not crazy. Okay, so what happened with that one is that my frontal popped loose. And as soon as that frontal popped loose, that disturbed the, well, really it's more like a wave motion than anything else. disturbed that so much that the string lost its path, and I interrupted it. So, okay, so that was why I put that piece of tape on there. It might, now that I'm thinking about it, it might make more sense to actually have a piece of tape that fastens this to the actual arm itself, to keep that in place. And so that's something to think about. You've also probably got some extra rubber bands, and it might be possible to rubber band that, but you have to be really careful that you're not changing the shape of the coil. You don't want to flatten that coil and make that channel any narrower, because that will cause problems with it as well. But there's our standing string. Let me turn this on again and see if I can make it, see if it's going. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to let it sit here. It's kind of top heavy. Actually, let me do this. I'm going to turn it off, and let's see if I turn the lights out, even though we've got the light of the computer, maybe we can get it dark enough to glow. Okay, not only did I turn all the lights off, but I closed the door and pulled the shade. So I'm going to move this just a little bit. So you can see it is glowing. Let me turn off this screen, this monitor I'm not using, because that helps us a little bit. So that's not actually all that bad. All right, so let's turn it on again and see what happens. All right. So you got some glow going there. Now, I don't have a support under this thing on one side of it, so it's kind of top heavy, and it kind of wants to rotate a little bit. I don't have anything to keep it from doing that. I don't have anything tight enough to put underneath it, but that's doing a pretty good job of showing you a glow, I guess. I just touched it with my finger. Do that, sometimes it almost feels like it's alive. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to turn that off. And then I'm going to turn the lights on, and then I'm going to turn my screen back on. All right, I'm back. So turn my video back on. Well, if I can find myself. So there's what we've done today. When you look farther in your book, it gives you some suggestions on how to do things with it. You've got your flying discs, and so it tells you on page 21, try touching it with the flying disc and see what you can do with it when you do that. And it may be that giving it more surface area to flow over may make it move a little bit smoother. And then the pouches that those flying discs are in, you can use those actually to put your string in. So when you come over here and get ready to put this together or put it away, if you don't want to take the apparatus apart because you want to continue to use that string, then you can use one of the pouches to just slide your string down in it without it getting tangled up. So that's one way to do that. And so there's all kinds of games in there for you to talk about, and or not talk about, to try. And so one of the things that we'll talk about in terms of these are what that's where you see this kind of operation in other places. And one of the best places that you see it is with a pitching machine. The pitching machine uses the spinning wheels to throw the baseballs out. And if you can adjust the wheels, you can adjust the trajectory. That's the word I was trying to look for. And you can, if you can adjust the speed of your motor, then you can adjust the speed that the baseballs get thrown out. And so that's a good way for batters to, to practice hitting baseballs that are coming towards them at different speeds. Spinning tops are also work kind of the same way as the wheels on our machine do. Obviously, they're not operated by a motor, but when you start them spinning, so we'll talk about gravity and talk about Newton's laws again. An object that's in motion in one direction wants to keep that motion in the same direction. So when you start a spinning wheel spinning and you've got a good spin on it, then it's not going to fall over and stop spinning because its inertia is one thing. It doesn't want to go in a different direction. The only way it's going to do that is if a force can overcome it. And so the momentum of that object, the way it's spinning, it goes a long way toward keeping those spinning tops going. So when you talk about momentum, you talk about the speed of the object moving, and you talk about its mass. And so even though our spinning tops don't have a lot of mass, you can actually create quite a bit of speed on them. And so they're going to continue to speed or continue to move as long as they are not affected by, the first thing would be friction as they spin against that horizontal surface. That causes them to lose momentum. And when they lose enough momentum and they begin to slow down, then gravity can take over and pull those tops over on their sides. So that's one of the things that you see with that. It gives you another example in your book about the dancing fountains. When you get fountains that have got different arcs on them, the speed at which the water streams are shot through the tunnel, or the little channel that they travel through, that speed is going to change their trajectory. And so you can work with the fountains to have what looks like a very simple fountain. If you've got a way to maintain the speed or change the speed of the water as it travels through those channels, then you can change the shape of the curves of that water. That's why places like what's the famous fountains in Las Vegas where they do, I think is at the Mirage Hotel, the Venetian, I don't know, it's one of those places. They've got those big fancy fountains, and they choreograph the water fountains with the music that they're playing with them. And so, a lot of that is, they can do a lot of that with computer programming, telling which channels to spit water at which times. But they use the momentum of the water, the speed that it's going, to really control how that happens. Okay, so we've done lots of like rotational energy. We talked about the circuits and being able to switch the direction of the circuits and make our motor spin in different directions. We've looked at that standing stream and how you can manipulate it. So you've gotten some different examples of some different physics themes. There's also a little bit of chemistry in there because we've got that UV sensitive light that or dye that is coated all of your strings, and so that's going to make your strings glow in the dark. what they're really doing, it's, you know, the dye, it's the way the electrons are reacting to the ultraviolet light in the dye, which I guess is kind of a chemiluminescence, but just that glow is called phosphorescence. And so you can check other things that will give you that kind of glow in the dark idea. You know, when you see people, you know, if you've played laser tag and they turn the black lights on, if you got on a white or a light colored t-shirt, it kind of seems like it glows in the dark. You'll see people, you can see their smiles when they are in a black light. Their teeth look like an unearthly kind of white. So they'll phosphoresce. And there are lots of other things that you'll see that happen. They either occur naturally or they've been treated with a dye that causes them to do that. Tonic water is a carbonated water, but it is treated with iodine. And so iodine will phosphoresce. And so you'll see tonic water glow in the dark. And then they use a phosphorescent dye on paper money now as one of the ways to control counterfeiting. And so if you get paper money that's of the right age, then you'll see that little bit of phosphorescence with them too. So I guess if you wanted to, you could take your glow string shooter apart and use your LED strips and your magnet, your power strip, and you can just go around and test things in your house. If you don't have a black light, this will do the same thing. Okay, so we've gone an hour and a half, and hopefully you have been able to get your glow string to work. And there's some instructions for some troubleshooting at the back of your book for you to look at if you're having those problems. Remember that when you have built your string shooter, to take a picture of it and send that picture either to Miss Tammy or to me, so that you can get credit for participating in Science Saturday this month. Next month, Science Saturday is on campus. I think it's October the 15th, 12th, 13th, I think it's the 15th. It's that Saturday. And we're going to be looking at Bernoulli's principle and Archimedes' principle. So we're going to be blowing some things, not blowing up as in explosion, but blowing some things up as in using your air to do that, and making some things float. So that will be a fun day, I think. I'm really working on trying to come up with some pretty cool stuff for that day. So we're excited. We'll be excited to have you on campus in October. We've got a lot of other really cool things that we're starting up and working on for this year. And we'll talk to you about those things a little bit more as soon as I get the dates and the times nailed down. But we're looking at adding some other little day trips and evening trips to the program this year to give us a little more time to do some stuff together. So have a great Saturday. If you are a college football fan, I hope your team wins today. And if you're not a college football fan, then you can just go ahead and cheer for the Vols with me, and that will make me happy. And we will see you soon. Y'all have a good weekend. Bye.